Europe's skies are no longer safe. Russian drones are breaching NATO airspace, testing the alliance's defences and political unity. From Poland to Estonia, Moscow's unmanned incursions are forcing Europe to confront a new era of warfare. One where low-cost drones expose trillion-dollar vulnerabilities and unravel continental security myths. Europe's recent move to build a drone wall along its eastern borders appears at first glance to be a defensive necessity. Yet, a closer look suggests this costly initiative might actually be exactly what Russian President Vladimir Putin wants. A cunning trap to divert Europe's focus and resources away from supporting Ukraine. In early October, Europe faced coordinated waves of low-cost drone incursions, widely attributed to Russia, that hit critical infrastructure in multiple countries. These drone attacks were not meant to cause massive destruction. Rather, they were designed to scare Europe, exposing gaps in its air defences against easily deployed and relatively cheap unmanned systems. This forced the continent to urgently respond with a layered drone defence network, the so-called drone wall, integrating radars, jammers, interceptor drones, and artificial intelligence to detect and neutralise threats. On the surface, this sounds like a prudent step, but the price tag is enormous. Building and maintaining this anti-drone infrastructure will require billions of euros and divert significant defence budgets. Herein lies the potential trap. By provoking these modest drone attacks, Moscow has pushed Europe into a massive investment in its own national defence systems. These expensive efforts come at a time when European nations are already heavily engaged in supporting Ukraine's war effort against Russia's invasion. The shift towards spending on continent-wide drone defences risks squeezing resources away from Ukraine. Every euro directed to Europe's drone networks and away from Ukraine's fighting needs is a strategic win for Putin. Ukraine's battlefield success depends heavily on European military and financial aid. If that aid is curtailed because of Europe's defensive priorities at home, Russia gains an advantage. Moreover, this drone wall initiative signals a shift in European defence priorities. Rather than focusing collective efforts on aiding Ukraine to push back Russian aggression, Europe risks getting bogged down guarding its borders reactively against Russia's hybrid tactics. The drone attacks have achieved a psychological mission, instilling fear and mistrust within Europe, undermining its political cohesion and distracting from the central conflict in Ukraine. Putin's strategy exploits Europe's vulnerabilities perfectly. Low-cost, persistent drone attacks bait Europe into costly defensive overreach, draining its attention and funds, fracturing unity, and ultimately weakening support for Kyiv. The drone wall may offer security against nuisance attacks, but it comes with a strategic cost that Europe cannot afford. Europe's drone defense initiative looks less like prudence and more like falling into Putin's trap. As Europe is racing to build a drone wall to challenge Russia's repeated incursions into its airspace, it comes up with its own challenges. The ambitious vision is mired in political disagreements, technical hurdles, and divergent national priorities. As discussions progressed over the defence vision in Brussels, the concept, now rebranded as the European Drone Defence Initiative, has exposed the European Union's deep divisions over defence coordination, funding responsibilities, and technological feasibility. Strategically, the drone wall faces an evolving threat landscape. Russian drones like the Jiran 2 kamikaze models are cheap, small, and often used in swarms to saturate defences or create distractions. Existing air defences, designed for conventional aircraft or missiles, struggle to detect or neutralise such elusive targets. Electronic warfare methods such as jamming or spoofing signals are promising, but require constant upgrades to keep pace with adversaries. The political divisions within Europe and uneven threat perceptions complicate efforts for a unified response. While some nations see the drone threat as existential and immediate, others perceive it as less urgent, reflecting ideological and geographic divides. This hampers consensus on funding levels, command structures, and operational control. There are economic barriers as well. Drone warfare changes quickly, each side adapting to the other, meaning any defense system will require constant upgrades and artificial intelligence-driven adaptability. Experts also warn that inconsistent national systems could create a zoo of technologies that are difficult to integrate, meaning that to build a drone wall, all the Union countries have to be on the same page, and that seems rather unlikely at the moment. As Europe scrambles to build its drone wall, the United States is pressing NATO allies to step up, not just with defensive systems, but with American weapons to bolster Ukraine's fight. United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed that more NATO countries are expected to contribute to the prioritized Ukraine requirements list, a program in which European nations purchase US weapons and transfer them to Kyiv.
PURL is the initiative where European countries buy US weapons, transfer to NATO for the fight in Ukraine to bring peace to that conflict. And if there's anything we've learned under President Trump, is the active application of peace through strength. You get peace when you are strong, not when you use strong words or wag your finger. You get it when you have strong and real capabilities that adversaries respect. But also note a historic moment as well for a lot of things to happen, given what the president's been able to do in Gaza and throughout the Middle East. I think the world is seeing that we have a peace president who seeks that peace through standing by those that stand with the United States and stand for peace, which is what we saw there, and I hope we can see in Ukraine.
The Pentagon chief framed the effort as part of a broader geopolitical moment, citing recent United States diplomacy in Gaza and the Middle East, and presenting the program as evidence of a United States approach that ties support with active deterrence. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is weighing whether to supply long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, a move that has drawn sharp warnings from Moscow. To date, NATO members have committed roughly $2 billion to PURL, but Washington is pushing major powers, including Britain, France, Spain, and Italy, to increase their contributions. The urgency is clear. Russian provocations across Europe have spiked, from airspace violations in Poland and Estonia to drone incursions near military sites and airports. British Defence Minister John Healey issued a blunt warning.
Putin is watching what we do, and Putin should be in no doubt. If NATO is threatened, we will act.
Similarly, Dutch Defence Minister Ruben Brekelmans emphasised the need for unified rules of engagement.
When things get tough, when the F-35s are up in the air, you need to make sure that for everyone it's very clear what your regulations are.
At the same time, NATO is accelerating anti-drone technology development, incorporating low-cost systems Ukraine has successfully deployed.
I can assure you that the EU and NATO are really working very well together. There is no doubling at all. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, myself, the relevant commissioners, including Kubilius and of course Kaja Kallas and the others, we are all making sure that we make use of the strengths of the two organizations. And NATO is good at the hard stuff, which is the standard setting, the capabilities, the military side. And the EU has the enormous soft power of the internal market, the enormous soft power of making sure the money is there, making sure that the nations in the EU are aligned. And this combination is crucial to work together.
Despite this, skepticism remains in parts of Europe, notably Germany, about the proposed drone wall. Critics worry the project may drain resources and distract from broader strategic priorities. Yet, if Europe fails to translate rhetoric into real readiness, Moscow risks more than just control over Ukraine's skies. It could shape the security narrative of the entire continent for years to come. The message is clear. Europe faces a dual test: defend against low-cost drone incursions at home while maintaining robust support for Ukraine abroad. How it balances these demands may define the next phase of the conflict.